Well, navigating the dating world can be tough enough, but what if you face extra barriers? Invisible disability advocate and rare disease advocate Lauren Pires joins us now with her story. And first off, tell us what your invisible disability is.
So I was born with a rare neuromuscular disorder called central core disease, where basically some of the mitochondria in my muscle cells is missing, and that affects my physical strength. I have about 33% strength of the average person.
Okay, and you're not here to talk about your disease.
No.
But you're here to talk about finding love.
Yes. Yeah, so I was always really nervous to talk about my disability, partly because I was undiagnosed for so long. I didn't know how to talk about it, and particularly in a dating context, I was really worried that people would see me differently. But when I told my boyfriend on our second date, it really brought us together because it reminded him that he also has things that he's nervous to share, and so we bonded over this thing that I was afraid of.
Yeah, it's kind of that being vulnerable and open about it.
Yeah, I thought it was a barrier, but it really ended up being a bridge to us connecting better.
Now, what about on dating sites? Would you recommend like putting it out there like right off to potential, or would you want to meet someone first and then?
Everyone has their own level of comfort.
Yeah.
I personally would only tell people after meeting them usually, or after talking enough that I felt comfortable sharing with them. It could be as early as you feel comfortable, or it could be, because it's one part of you, it could be as late as you feel comfortable with.
Right, right. And you speak a lot about this. How did you even get to that point where it's like you're not, telling your friends and everything, but you're putting it out there to a very wide audience?
Yes. So a couple of years ago, I was in Speaker Slam, which is North America's largest inspirational speaking competition. And through that, I really became more comfortable talking about my disability, which I never used to talk about for over 30 years. And as I started talking about it more, I got a lot of messages from people who said they were also scared to share their disabilities and didn't know how to tell people. And I've just always loved dating articles and tips and everything, and wanted to bring them together.
Now, why were you reluctant for so long to talk about your...
Yeah, I think a lot of it was because I was undiagnosed. I really didn't have the language or the diagnosis to know how to talk about it. And then even when I did, I was really worried that people would see it as a weakness, because I was kind of self-conscious about things that were harder for me to do, that I felt compared to other people. But I can say when I tell people, I've never been met with what my fears were. I've only been met with acceptance and support.
Oh, very cool. So what advice would you have for people then that maybe have a disability or a disadvantage that people really can't see, trying to get that out? How do you break the ice?
Yeah, so sometimes you might find that something natural comes up in conversation that maybe you have a segue, or you might be in a situation where you decide it would be easier for you to proceed in the situation by disclosing. That's what happened to me. My boyfriend and I on our second date climbed a hill, and I felt like I was about to faint, and we had to sit down on the side of a hill, and then I thought I should really let him know what's going on so that we can proceed better.
Yeah, and just letting it be out in the open there, and not not worrying about, okay, am I going to just become the person with this rare disease kind of thing, and that's all I am, because it's a very small part of you, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think that's important for people with disabilities and people who are dating them to keep in mind, is that the disability is just one part of you. You're still a person with humor and passions and interests, and it may shape a lot of your life, that it made you who you are, and that is part of who you are for somebody to accept.
Thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we'll get all your social media contacts and everything up on our website at chch.com/morninglive.